Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, and welcome to the CAD Class Podcast. I'm Josh,
I'm Jake.
and each week we come on and we answer your Fusion 360 questions, talk about some of the cool projects that are being made, and hang out with you, our community. You might notice something a little bit different. I'm actually looking across right now at Jake.
I know, Josh is right there in front of me. It's so strange.
Yeah, so we're trying to podcast from the same room, so this is a completely different
For
setup.
the first time ever, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure this audio isn't quite as high quality, but we did really want to stop in and still say hello to all of you who give us your time and attention every week. So
Definitely.
really nice to be here. We've got some interesting stuff, so I think maybe we talk a little bit about Maker Faire.
I think we should talk about where we are first, yeah.
Yeah. So we gave a talk last week, a couple of talks last week.
Mhm.
So I gave a talk on makerspace tools, and Jake, you gave a talk on learning CAD.
Learning CAD in a very general sense, yeah.
What have you thought of Maker Faire so far?
So this is our first time at Maker Faire, and I've wanted to go to this basically my entire life. Like, I've seen videos of it for probably over a decade, and just going like, oh my gosh, it's in Northern California. I'm in Southern California. Oh, it's in New York. Oh, it's in Washington. And it's just kind of dotted all around the country and all around the world. And it was like, I'm not going to fly, like, as a high schooler, I'm not going to fly off, to the other side of the world to do that. It's not going to happen. And so kind of coming here, it was such a really nice relief. So for the people that don't know, Maker Faire was started up, 2006? About?
I don't know when exactly it was started.
I think it was something about 2006. It was founded by Dale Daughtry, who wrote a little blurb on the back of our book. We've got on his Make podcast. He is such a nice guy. He's a massive teddy bear. Love Dale. And every single year, he ran this gigantic festival, massive fair, to show off all the amazing fun stuff that creators put around and make. And it's just a really, really lovely community. And then COVID hit, and it was like, can't do it, and then can't do it for the next year, then can't do it for the next year. And it was just kind of sad. They were like, yeah, this may be the last one. And I was really heartbroken. I was like, oh no, I never went. And then we got a call from him, and he says, we're starting it back up. Get ready. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then he says, would you be interested in giving a speech? And just responded probably within a minute going, yes, absolutely. So first Maker Faire, walking around, talking to all the new people, being just surrounded by the most inspirational makers I've probably ever met, and then just being behind the scenes as well, chatting to all the different creators, all the people that are putting on a show, all the people that are giving speeches and talks, and it's just fantastic. So much fun.
Yeah. So we've seen some cupcakes, some giant cupcakes that people ran around, and giant giraffe interrupted your talk.
An electric giraffe.
What would you say, 15, 20 feet tall?
Oh, easy 20 feet, yeah.
Yeah, maybe more when the giraffe's neck is up like that.
Yep.
One of the things, I think it does relate actually a little bit to CAD, because one of the things that we say, like one of the things that you said as you were talking was, you need to work on projects that you find truly interesting. But how do you know what projects you find interesting if you haven't explored?
If you haven't dived into the tools.
Or the people, or the community, so going to Maker Faire to me is just like such a nice way to get inspiration for figuring out what you might want to dive into. And also, like, unlike a lot of places, when you go to Maker Faire, you get the sense that most people are making these things because they're just geeking out about it.
Yeah.
It's not like they're doing it because they're going to make a bunch of money doing it.
They couldn't care about the monetary values. They're just makers who have a ton of fun. And I think one of the best examples of this is that there's a ton of just highly, highly creative robotics guys.
Ooh, my back is an echo. Here's one thing we can do. How about that?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. We're in a brand new system. I don't have my normal computer with me, so I'm sure the audio is going to sound a little on the crappy side. My apologies. And Josh's apologies as well.
I wonder if, so talk for a little bit, and then you mute your mic, and I'll unmute mine.
All right. We'll see who's better.
So
essentially, all of these, there's a ton of people throughout the entire Maker Faire who just have this fantastic robotics experience. That's amazing on its own. That's really rad. But then to also have this huge amount of creativity to back it up is just so fantastic. So, it's Halloween around the corner. And so a ton of people are basically coming into this, bringing like Halloween robots. Like they had a little stroller, a little pram, and it was obviously the motors are on the wheels and it was being pulled by like this ghostly mother, and it was really creepy. Obviously, like there's some guy like behind the scenes with like a little RC remote, and then just randomly, as soon as you got too close, this like pneumatic piston just like fires this baby out. And I'm like, and I was thinking about it, I'm like, that's probably a really easy system. It's like a couple motors, an RC receiver, going to a very, very simple microphone or RC remote. It's, a pneumatic piston, probably some springs. So like, that's it. Like I could probably whip that up in a weekend, but that's not the difficult part. It's having the creativity to then push that into really weird, wacky stuff. Like there's guys here who like have made their own drones and they're then turning it into like a floating ghost. And the only reason they did it is to just drive over and mess with all the security guards. So it's like, it is this really fantastic area where you go, oh, wow, the robotics is actually shockingly easy. I just have to have a really good idea to kind of apply it to. I don't need to make, incredibly complicated robotics projects to kind of get started into. I can make super duper simple stuff. Yeah, such a fun place.
Yeah.
Did
you mute it?
I'm unmuted.
Yeah, so don't mute it. So Sam, will you let us know where I'm only going to keep one microphone unmuted. Can you hear me okay, or am I too far away? Really curious if you can just let me know how loud that is.
Sam, you rock, by the way.
Yeah.
Always appreciate you.
Awesome. Yeah, for those new in the stream right now, we are podcasting from somewhere completely new. We're traveling. We're sitting across from each other. So apologies for the technical difficulties if there are any. And we were just diving deeply, or I guess not deeply, but a little bit into Maker Faire and what we've been up to. So
yeah. Side note, as you can probably tell, we're both sick. We're both pretty sick.
Yeah.
Josh got me sick.
I got him sick, and I was unfortunately pretty sick on the final day of Maker Faire. So so there is that. But,
which happens. I'm not too mad about it.
Yeah. Let's see. We had some stuff to show off, I think. So I'd love to show off some of what our community did.
Yeah. Go ahead and share your screen, Josh.
Let's see if I can get that shared. Present. Share screen.
Instead of the full hour, probably only going to do this for about a half an hour, guys, just so you know, because my voice is dwindling pretty quickly. That's going to suck if we do this for a whole hour. What else about Maker Faire? Maker Faire was just a ton of fun because, so just so you guys know, and I'm sure you probably recognize them in the in all the YouTube shorts we put out. We went to Open Source in San Francisco a couple months ago, and it was like this huge convention all about like YouTube makers. So you had Adam Savage, Mark Rober, William Osman, Michael Reeves, Alan Pan, 3D printing nerd Joel. You had a ton of people who were just such fantastic makers, just so inspirational about everything. And then it was just amazing for this void to be filled because, like we said, the Maker Faire, this vibe had basically disappeared. Do you want to go to Discord?
Can you see it
on
your screen?
Yeah.
So, no, totally right. I think I wanted to talk a little bit about this project really quickly. We have this
I cannot see a screen, actually.
Oh, it's not actually sharing?
It's sharing StreamYard.
Oh.
Did you say entire screen or just StreamYard?
Let's try that again. Share screen.
There you go.
Entire screen. Share. Nope, can't do that.
This is so funny seeing Josh figure this out for the first time.
No, it won't let me share it.
It's not letting you do the whole screen?
I don't have permission.
Bizarre.
All right. Well,
that screws up that plan. Anyway, as you can see, this podcast is rinky dink 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is worse than normal. Sorry,
this is worse than our first podcast, which was true trash.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't let me share the screen.
Anyway, so I'll bring him up on my phone. God, this is bodging it even for us. Good God.
Let me see if I can switch my preferences here. If you're in the chat, we'd love to hear where you're calling in from, where in CAD class you actually are. Say hello.
Yeah.
Say hello. Say hello.
Really quick, a big thanks to the 3D Printing General, really good friend of ours, Sean. I'm sure I feel like everyone in the maker community knows by now, but YouTube shut down his entire channel very abruptly without any notice to him, which really sucks. His 3D printing gun channel, I think that got shut down, but then his normal 3D printing channel that has nothing to do with anything controversial as far as what he said, that got shut down as well, and so he's now moving platforms. So he's been posting a ton of our stuff to his Twitter page, and so we got a bunch of new Twitter or X followers. And so now talking and getting a little bit deeper of a business relationship with him. So yeah, ton of fun. Big thanks to Sean. He also wrote a little blurb on the back of our book as well.
He did.
Yeah, worlds colliding, man.
I am still trying to figure out how to share my whole screen and give her permission. Hey, Maple Leaf. You got printed by John. Nice to have you in here. I see Maple Leaf Makers. Really nice to have you in here as well.
Nice to have you guys.
Apologies this week for the jankiness. We are traveling and sick. So we just wanted to keep the consistency going and at least come in and say hello to you all.
And we're also in the same room as well. It's very strange being in the same room as Josh.
Yes.
It's really weird.
Much more challenging podcast, I think.
Way more.
I almost feel like we need the camera on the side of us looking
at
us at the table here. But
maybe we just point our cameras at the other person.
Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah, pop any questions in the chat if you have them, although it looks like screen sharing might not be such a possibility for us.
Might not be doable.
So we'll have to talk through solutions to these problems, I think, is what's going to happen here.
Let me just check if I can share my entire screen.
Yeah,
I can share my entire screen.
You can share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so at least you can pull Fusion up.
Yeah, there we go.
Got it.
All right, guys. So there wasn't a huge amount of questions on the Discord this week about any of the problems that you guys are having with any of the projects. So you have any questions at all, we can get going.
Yeah, and printed by John. I just started designing and I'm going to start working on the surfboard.
Awesome.
It is really fun so far. Hey, thanks so much, John.
I really like that project. It's one of those. So for you guys that don't know, it's this idea that you can make an incredibly complicated 3D object incredibly simply, just kind of like cutting up cross sections, kind of like an MRI, and just making that 2D cross section, and then joining it all together with a tool called Loft, which basically just merges and it makes this really groovy organic shape. Ton of fun. I feel like that's one of those projects that really gets people kind of stoked about CAD. With like, oh damn, okay, all right, okay. So, but it is a tricky project as for chapter 1.
I think it's tricky in this sense. It's like it's sort of hard to see because you're playing with the new planes. I think it already an X, Y, and a Z plane can be somewhat challenging for people. And like you add more planes in there, and then your brain goes, hang on a minute, like there's only 3 dimensions. There are 4 or 5. So it's like I do think there's this visualization thing that's a little tricky.
I think making the fin is really kind of tricky because we're now talking about like merging multiple objects together.
Yes.
It is. It's a pretty common consensus across all the people that have taken the class where they go, wow, you guys don't mess around. It's like, no, we're not the kind of people to put out like super duper easy projects that are like obscenely easy to do. It's like, no, I'm going to push you guys.
Definitely. So, I mean, I'm just going to shout out some of the stuff I saw in the Discord, and then you guys can go in and actually check it out because we can't actually share one of our screens today for some silly reason. So one thing I thought was really neat was there was a guy who made a cart that he showed off. Right? So EC Spot.
This is rinky dinky even for us.
Yeah. So EC Spot on the Discord in the I Made a Thing channel said he started to draw this thing that he wanted to make crudely and try to explain it, how to build it out of 2x4s. And after struggling to tell people what he was up to, he decided to actually try to design it in Fusion.
God, I love that.
And he said he was able to do this. It took like 5 minutes. It's less crude. It took half the time, and it's to scale. And it's a cart to hold metal poles for canopy tents. So, I mean, that kind of stuff is like, it doesn't. I think when you're making something on Fusion, A, it's amazing that it's practical, that you can just show somebody right away. But B, it doesn't actually have to be all that sophisticated.
No,
you can just like smush stuff together and get a general idea really quickly, which I think is one of the real powers of the communication ability of the software.
I think even more so is that there's so many different levels of like rough to finalized that any point along, you know, that timeline of like just how finessed is acceptable just depending on the project, and having kind of that maker skill set to know like, hey, I don't need to really make this entire thing in CAD. I only need to make maybe a 2D sketch to find that one angle. A really good example for that is one of our old graduates, this guy called Nick in Australia. His mum was put in a wheelchair, and he needed to make this ramp going into our house. And he's like, oh gosh, I don't know the angle. He's like, I've got woodworking experience, but it's like there's all these really funky angles and then stairs that you have to go around. And what's this? And how long does this have to be? How much material do I need? And he just is like, well, I don't need to make the whole thing in CAD. I just need to make a 2D stair profile and then big triangle, and I've got all my dimensions and all of my angles done. I don't need to do it on paper. I can just do it in CAD, and it does everything automatically. And it's like, yeah, there is no need to then extrude it and put a wooden appearance on it. It's like completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
But then if I was going to take that and, you know, make it as a product or something for my community where I go, I'm going to add in some parametric designs. So if I go to someone and they have a different size stair, then I just enter in a couple numbers and it, you know, it fixes it. It's done. It's like that's another level of complexity that's then necessary for that, you know, next stage in the project. But for just like a one-off rinky-dinky project, done. That's all it needs. And I really dig that. I really, really dig that in CAD.
Yeah, totally. All right, I had another one I want to shout out. So Ghost Pepper, I don't know if you're here, Ghost Pepper, but I know you've been here. That's our friend from Alaska. Did you see his surfboard?
No.
So he wrapped the Fusion 360 cover
that we
made,
rad.
The Mastering Fusion 360 cover around the surfboard, and I'm looking at this and going like, oh, actually, I kind of wish I had that surfboard.
Yeah,
that's a really cool graphic you put on.
That'd be kind of rad. We know a couple of surfboard makers. Josh and I both used to live in Southern California, and we actually knew quite a few people who would make surfboards from scratch, and it's weirdly simple. It just takes a long amount of time to make surfboards, but it's a really good CNC project. It's like you just buy a big block of styrofoam. You know, what we make in the class for the surfboard is probably fine. CNC it out, flip it over, do the other side, lay it in glass fiber, put a fin on it, and it's done. It's like this really, really kick-ass project. So we should reach out to some of our old crew, see if they can make a surfboard for us.
We really should.
I think
we really should. I mean, that's going to make me want to go surfing all the time.
Yeah.
I have to drive 2.5 hours to the coast and then we won't get any work done. And oh my God, that's spiraling out of control quickly.
Yeah.
Cadence is in here, Geek Toy Box. I wonder if Geek Toy Box, is that Dom, maybe? He says, it was good seeing you guys at Bay Area Maker Fair.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's Dom.
That might be Dom, yeah.
Yeah, Dom. I think it's Dom, something like that. And then Cadence, hey, nice to have you in here, Cadence. So Cadence is one of our collaborative friends over at the Museum of Science and Curiosity, doing really, really amazing work with kids with STEM projects. And she brought to Maker Fair the prototype of the next project we're working on, which is like a little remote control battle bot that's gonna have a jousting.
And it's got steerability and just this whole idea of like, I'm gonna make a remote, and she made it with like a cardboard scrap, copper tape, and like flexible wires to make contacts, and it worked fantastically.
And not just fantastically, it was super fun.
It was so much
play around
fun
with the little wires. Yeah. So
there's this really amazing part of making where if you know enough about what every single component does, you can probably find like a rinky-dinky version. Like I don't know if any of you guys remember the show Junkyard Wars.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure very highly scripted, but like go into a junkyard, find a bunch of stuff and make it. And I really want to do that with a 3D printer, Like, I really want to go into a junkyard and find like a heating element and like some motors and like a threaded rod for a lead screw, you know?
Yeah.
Because I want to see just how rinky-dinky you can make a 3D printer and have it still work. Like, I want to go into like a hardware store, buy a bunch of like crappy wood, try and make a frame, and like really distill it down like as simple as possible.
Yeah, this feels to me almost like some sort of corollary to the to like if you remove parts from a ship, at what point is it out of ship?
Yeah.
Like how?
Yeah.
What is the essence of a 3D print?
Yeah.
Like when you strip all of it out, like what are the absolute effects that if you took any last component away from this, it would not be a 3D printer? It's kind of an interesting thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it needs an extruder.
Which is just a motor. The weird thing about like 3D printers is that obviously it's a CNC machine. It takes in commands and then it moves motors and you can do that to perform a task. But that's the same thing for like a 2D paper printer.
Yeah.
Just like a normal office printer. It technically takes in commands.
Or 1D.
Yeah.
If it just puts a dot.
Yeah.
It doesn't move anywhere.
It moves back and forth. It pushes your paper out. Instead of extruding plastic, it extrudes little dots of ink and it moves back and forth. It's like I think you could make a 3D printer with 2 paper printers.
And I guess if a human moved it and you had to like force the
I think you could. Yeah, I really want.
Funny.
I really
that's
want
funny. We've got some questions about computers, I think, coming in here a little bit. So, printed by John is wanting to, let's see, using Fusion on a 2017 MacBook. Do you know if the new Mac with the M2 chip would be powerful enough?
We do actually.
To run
so
smooth? Yes.
all right. So
totally.
So just little bits of information for you guys. So Josh has been a Mac user for years and years and years. My dad has been an IT guy for my entire life, so I've always been a Microsoft person. And so I had a Surface Laptop 4 for years, worked fantastically, did Fusion on it, not a problem. And then just slowly over the years, it just got more and more tired. The fans kept on buzzing like max speed constantly. It was just rough. And we decided to make the switch to both be on Mac, just so it's just easier on both of us. I was a little bit reluctant, but now I'm so glad that I switched. The editing and the video editing and the bookmaking and Fusion is so nice. What you guys may not know is that in June of this year, Fusion 360 made an update where they can actually optimize for the Apple Silicon, which is like hyper tricked out. What a lot of people may not know is that before Apple came out with the M1 or M2 series, all their computer chips were made by Intel, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But it's actually not weird. Like most of your parts of like your iPhone is not made by Apple. Like I think the screen is made by Samsung. Like there's all the different components. I think there's only a couple things that are actually made by Apple. It's just a hodgepodge. And so because they started to make their own computer chips, they could now massively optimize. So the performance going from like the 2019 Intel chip to 2020 or 2021, whatever it was, M1 line was just like an obscenely huge spike.
Well, and I'll say the one thing that I really like about it, like the performance is really amazing, but also the battery life. So I no longer actually have to go, if I take my computer out for basically the whole day, I don't have to take a charger.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to me. It's like I can just not have to worry about like, oh, I forgot my charge, didn't bring a thing. So not only is it incredibly powerful. Hey, Aaron, nice to have you.
Hey, what's up?
No problem. Late to the party. We are a little under the weather, and we're in a new location. That's hence the crappy video quality here.
Yeah,
we wanted to hang out with you guys anyway. So,
but Fusion works ungodly quickly on, especially for huge assemblies on the new Apple Silicon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can hear, but the laptop that I have right now that I'm borrowing is an Intel chip MacBook, and its fans are whizzing up. And Josh's M1, or is it an M2 laptop?
It's an M1.
It's an M1?
M1. No fan noise at all.
Just silent. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, so if you guys are considering upgrading to an M2, ooh, it's nice. It is really nice.
I think we had a couple more things on the Discord I wanted to shout out here. If you have any questions and you're just joining us, feel free to leave those questions in the chat. we're just going through Discord. I can't really share my Discord screen right now, so I'm just going to talk about some of the projects in there. But if you do have questions, we're definitely happy to answer those. All right, did I see a geocache hide this week? Yeah, I did. So actually this guy Ugg.
I love his projects,
and he's just been jamming through the whole program. He's like halfway through it, so he's been really making a lot of progress. Let's see. Do we have silicon mold? No.
We got a little shout out from someone. I imagine PC Fan Vliet was actually at Maker Fair. They go, did you guys catch the 3D printing drones with a hot end and extruder? We didn't. We really want to go and see the drones. That's totally a thing that I really want to do. But I've never flown a drone at all. But I really want to make one.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
PC Van Vliet. No, I don't. PC Van Vliet's he's in Europe, right?
I have no idea.
Pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure. You can tell us in the chat if we're right. So it was the phone case and the phone stand, and it was by Ugg on the Discord. So that's the one thing we're not going to be able to share our screen right now. But if you do go into the Discord, the phone case, phone stand channel, you will see.
Yeah. This was rad.
Yeah, he made a. Let's see. I have no need to replace my current phone case. So I just did the include iPhone. It was a good exercise. I enjoyed it, blah, blah, blah. However, I do have a need for a combination phone and induction charger stand for my bedside table.
So rad.
And I'm printing it out now, and he's got this really rad design so that his phone will fit in with the induction charger. I just thought that was so cool.
Dude, that is so rad. I think we should probably put that into the design. I think it'd be a ton of fun.
Yeah, and then he's got this like variation on the fire piston too, which is totally rad. So
yeah, ton of fun from everyone. You guys rock as usual. Love seeing it.
So PC Van Vliet said, sadly I was not there, but I saw the video.
Yeah, so many amazingly creative people there.
Yeah, no, it's totally rad.
Just so you guys know, this is going to be a slightly shorter video. Both Josh and I are fairly very sick.
I'm a little bit on the mends.
Josh is on the mend. Josh, I got it 2 days before me, so I'm like,
oh,
I think I'm just barely over the hill, but still feeling a little on the crappy side.
Aaron says, I have my part 107 issue.
I have my part 107.
I'm guessing that's a drone pilot's license. It's like sounds like gibberish to me.
I'm like,
yes, your part 107 SU. Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it. I know what everything is.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. In terms of questions, we did get something come in about contact sets, and it looked like there was some back and forth on contact sets. I think when we were doing it was the fire piston. Correct.
Yeah.
Do you want to show anything with contact sets? Is that worth pulling up and just?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's just review that briefly.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So contact sets are
small unmanned aircraft systems.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Checks out.
Oh gosh, I can't share my screen actually.
It's not going to let you share it. Is it blocking you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's blocking me too. Well,
wait.
Hot toddies do wonder for PC Van Vliet.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I would need to close down the stream to allow access to it. Damn.
Right,
bunch of rookies over here.
You get to look at our silly faces.
Our beautiful faces. The idea with contact sets is that you have what's called an edge detection, where if you've got multiple things that actually bump into each other, you can actually push one thing with another. Very, very cool. It is incredibly computationally heavy, even with a super tricked out computer. And so having multiple components that are actually moving, if you have something like the gear train in chapter 10, where it's got, something like 20 components, that will crash your computer very, very quickly. But if you have something like the fire piston, where it only has basically 2 components that are kind of smashing into each other, it is a lot easier for your computer to handle. The idea is that you pull them apart. For the fire piston, we have a slider joint. You can enable contact sets, go into the browser. For some reason, you have to turn it on twice. I think it's because it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? and then as soon as you move it, it should fully stop. But for some reason, it works best when you get a sideways view of the piston as it's going into the piston cavity. Yeah, it's a really, really funky thing. But if it doesn't work, that's fine. It's not something that I use very often for any clients or any projects of my own. So if it doesn't work for you, that's completely fine. We'll probably end up making a YouTube short about like exactly what to do. But yeah, a lot of people turn it on thinking that their entire system will then work perfectly, and then your computer just bombs and it goes, nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. Let's see. For sure, get well. So Aaron says, get well soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you so much. As they say with FAA. Yeah. He's talking about the difficulty of getting a license. As they say with the FAA, we're not happy until you're not happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That feels
like the DMV.
That feels so applicable to so many other
areas. Feels like the DMV, in my opinion.
Yeah.
FPV drones are a ton of fun. Yeah, if Dairy Air.
God,
I've seen that name.
I really want to get like a 4K drone, but I have zero use for it at all. Like, I would love to do like a bunch of filming for that. I have no use for it at all.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the trick when you get into these hobbies.
Yeah.
Like you end up wanting all of this stuff that just lives in a closet somewhere after a month of excitement and enthusiasm. And you have warehouses full of it, especially in electronics.
Yeah. But I feel like because it has like cameras on it, you can kind of incorporate into like your filming hobby or whatever. But regardless.
So one thing we said last week, I think, and I wanted to apologize to anybody who's on the stream. We said last week in the stream that we were going to go through a new workspace in Fusion 360. We are, in fact, not going to go through a new workspace. No. We are traveling and having some technical difficulties sharing our screens. So we're not going to go through the new workspace this week. But I would like to invite you all next week. We will on next Wednesday. If we commit to that, next Wednesday we will explore. Do you want to explore the surface tools or the sheet metal tools?
I think we should work on the form tools.
Let's do the form tools.
Yeah.
The form tools, we didn't touch on the program at all. So it's you get these, you can start to play around with much more organic pushing and pulling of parts of objects and things like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's poke around. We'll poke around a little bit next week. We promise that when we come back on, our setup will be back to normal. Our screen will be shareable. And I see now it's funny that
we will be healthier.
Yeah, we get about half hour through these things, and then our numbers tick up all the way. And now we have we have 10 people here right now. But we're not going to stick around for too much longer. So if you do have some questions, feel free to ask them now. But otherwise, here in the next couple of minutes, I think Jake and I are going to ring off, try to get a little bit healthy. We will be back at Maker Faire this weekend.
Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
We will very likely do a live podcast potentially. So if you guys have any questions for any Fusion things, we might do it at Maker Faire.
I'm thinking we'll do
I think it sounds like a ton of fun.
I'll hold the camera, we'll kind of walk around, and you'll talk to some people, and I'll do it, vice versa, right? So by podcast, we really mean like sort of live. We'll do some live.
That sounds rad.
I don't know if I'd call it a podcast, but we'll do something live from Maker
I think we
Faire
should make like a very rinky-dinky table. It's like answer all your CAD questions right here.
Have you seen the thing on Twitter and where the guy's got a cardboard sign and it's like, ask me about
anything. No, I'm feeling it's more going to be therapist gecko. It's like anybody can like call in or like walk up and just sit down. It's like, all right, let me talk to you about why you're having such a pain in the ass with this thing in CAD.
Like talk nerdy to me or something? Yeah. Talk nerdy to me about CAD.
Yep, that's the vibe.
Yeah, we'll totally see. So we'll try to give you a little live session, do some of the form tools next week. But also, if you're brand new here, hopefully you hit that subscribe button. We have some YouTube shorts that we put out 3 times a week. Although this week we're falling behind a little bit. But those will
back to normal schedule.
Back in full force next week. But 3 YouTube shorts a week, plus some of these YouTube lives, plus some interviews that we've done.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
So sorry again that this is going to be a little bit shorter, but we were happy to say hello for the short time that we came today. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much for being here, guys.
Yep. And we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Adios, guys. Have a good one.